Mrs. Toth, in your testimony, you discuss meaningful choice for consumers, and this is a principle that everyone agrees is a good one. However, it appears that the only choice for consumers using Yahoo is to opt out of receiving, quote, interest-based advertising, end of quote. It seems that they can't opt out of Yahoo's collection of information and tracking. Can you clarify exactly what the consumer's choice is with Yahoo's opt-out? If consumers ask to opt out of behavioral advertising, does your company continue to collect data on their browsing habits? And then I have another question. Does the opt-out only stop the displaying of targeted advertising, or does it stop the collection of data? Does your firm offer consumers any way to opt out of tracking and data collection? Would you answer those three questions for me, please?
Sure. So our opt-out, you're correct, it's not an opt-out of collection of data, it's an opt-out of use of data. So there are a number of reasons why we collect data, and primarily that relates to the display of advertising. So advertisers pay us to show advertisements, and so we have to know if those ads were delivered and shown. So we collect information in order to report that information back to the advertisers who are paying for those ads. But another reason why has a lot to do with the way we operate our websites. So if we were to stop collecting data when a user opts out, then there are a number of users we suspect would opt out and engage in behaviors on the site that may not be legitimate behaviors, that may be abusive or fraudulent behaviors. So we're continuing to collect information, but when the user opts out, we are no longer showing them behavioral advertisements. We are opting them out of that use of their data. So we are a website that offers a number of different services. Ad serving is one of our many businesses. So we have other uses for the data, as I described. So I think, I'm not sure if I understood the other question specifically as being different from that one, maybe I misheard, but so to the extent that data is no longer used for advertising, that's what the opt-out applies to. But the opt-out that we offer is actually it's very clearly provided to users, and it is actually very easy to find. So we think that actually matters a great deal. The other thing actually that I'll mention is that what we offer on the back end is anonymization of that data within 90 days. So if users have a concern that there's a great deal of data being collected, we hope to be addressing that on the back end by anonymizing the vast majority of our data within 90 days. What's really notable about that is that our policy doesn't just apply to search log records or to a specific type of log file, but really all of our log systems, including the log systems that inform our advertising capabilities.
So a consumer cannot opt out of data collection at all?
The consumer can't opt out through the data collection.
They cannot opt out of data collection.
No, there are other tools at the browser level that would address that.
Sure.
For us, our systems don't work that way.
Right. Ms. Wong, can you answer the same questions for me?
Sure. Let me start by sort of describing our approach to privacy and data collection on our sites generally, because I don't know if you're a regular Google user. Google actually has a design philosophy of always trying to minimize the amount of data we collect about a user in the first instance. So almost all of our services actually don't require a user to provide any personal information at all. When you go to Google search, you don't have to register. You simply type in your search. If you type in a search and you're not signed in or registered with us, what that means is the only thing we get back is what all of us here, what all websites get, which is sort of a standard, what we call log line, that records a computer is asking you a question. And that question comes with two things that can be identifying a user. One is an IP address, which your ISP assigns to you, and the other is a cookie, which is what Anne referenced. Neither of those things for Google are tied to an individual. You can't know it's Nicole or Chris or Anne based solely on the IP address and the cookie. So just to be clear about the type of data we collect. We do provide an opt-out, as I was demonstrating in our presentation, for the use of that cookie and IP address data to target ads. In other words, when you click on the opt-out, what it does is, instead of getting a unique cookie, which is a series of numbers and letters, what you get is what we call the opt-out cookie. And that opt-out cookie literally says in it, opt out. So that the data that we collect goes into a huge pool of all users who have the same opt-out cookie. It's completely aggregated, which means we can't see an individual user in that pool of data that's been identified as opt-out.